Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Well, this was not the fight I was expecting. Let me wipe some of the egg off my face. For the gamblers, the hedge held, the under held. This fight was over in the third round. But I was expecting a radically different fight. I was expecting Liam Walsh to do a lot better. He got outgunned by a young guy who might be a major talent. Right? I'll give Gervonta Davis credit. He got better as the fight went along. But let's pop one balloon. People are calling him Mike Tyson. He's not Mike Tyson, different fight style entirely. One of the things that surprised me in this fight was the sharpness, and it's sharp. The sharpness of Gervonta Davis's jab, right? With all due respect to Mike Tyson, who was a tremendous fighter, Hall of Famer, Tyson did not have this kind of sharp jab. Also, let's appreciate the technique here. Tyson was a guy who, if you look at Tyson highlights, he actually will face you. He would face you when he got going, right? He was standing almost parallel to you. Two-handed attack. Now, this young guy in his early 20s comes at you with a side profile. It's a little bit different. The first round here, he's very patient. This isn't Mike Tyson wanting to get the party going early, right, to take you out early. No, this is a guy who, I know it's a third round knockout, but he's patient. In the first round, you're going to notice there's stretches of the first round where neither fighter's throwing a lot of punches, right? Mike Tyson, at times, lead puncher. Gervonta Davis, counter puncher, right? Side profile, he's in no rush. He's not throwing a bunch of useless shots. There's an economy of movement. If you kill the volume, and I've placed a link to the fight in my favorites folder, I expect the fight to disappear shortly, so you want to watch it sooner rather than later, right? People who hold intellectual property rights are going to make sure that that video is no longer on YouTube, but you want to watch the video. You're going to notice that while Walsh has nervous energy and is moving around the ring a lot, you're going to notice that Davis, early 20s, fighting before a Walsh crowd on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, has a certain economy of movement. He's completely focused, right? He's shooting a jab. He tries a hair trigger right hand, right? He's a southpaw. He tries the right hand, it doesn't land. He doesn't go back to it, right? He's making adjustments as the fight goes along. Now, I fault Walsh for a few things. First, you're fighting in front of your crowd. I understand Davis has a lot of punching power, no question about it. But there's an open question about Davis on his back foot. I'm a little surprised that Liam Walsh didn't come out, shoot a jab, try to raise room temperature early. Force the young guy who's still getting accustomed to the crowd, right? He's just come out the dressing room. Force the young guy to actually have to defend himself early, right? It seemed to me that Walsh didn't do enough to test Davis's stamina. He didn't do enough to get Davis out of his construct. But make no mistake, Davis's jab is sharp. Davis's punching power is prodigious, right? This guy hits like Anthony Joshua, right? Huge puncher. Also, the guy is two-handed, but it's a specialized type of two-handed attack, right? With his lead hand, non-dominant, with his right hand, I believe his best punch is that right hook, right? It's a right hook. I know the announcers are talking about his left hand. It's that right hook that he can leap forward. He has it totally coordinated and hit you with. Then he has a very sharp right jab. Right? Very sharp. Of course, his left hand, that's a power hand. That's the hand that ends the fight. He gets it going and he starts hitting Liam Walsh on the side of the head, and Walsh is so badly hurt. This is a stoppage I have no objection with. Walsh is so badly hurt by the headshots that Gervonta Davis starts throwing in the third round. Right? Walsh is so hurt by it, Walsh doesn't seem able to put up a hand to protect the side of his face. He gets hit with several of the punches. And what I want people to see is, when Walsh is on the canvas, he looks bad on the canvas, right? He's on his knees. When he gets up, right, maybe his mind told him, I'm all right. But you're going to see that he has lost control of his body. Right? Absolutely has lost control of his body. His body has a little bit more wiggle in it than it should. Right? So the referee actually allows the fight to continue. What I want people to do is to look at the ref looking at Walsh. He then asks Walsh to lift his hands, right, and walk toward him. In other words, the ref, in my opinion, looking at Walsh, had doubts about whether he should even let the fight continue then. Well, when he lets the fight continue, and when Davis comes over and again lands a haymaker left hand to the side of Walsh's head that Walsh is again unable to block, I believe the referee did the right thing by stopping this fight, right? I was rooting for Walsh in the fight. I had a bet on Walsh that would have paid me more than 3-1. Right? But even I had to say, look, had the fight continued, Walsh hadn't shown me anything up to that point that would indicate that he could even hurt Davis. And Davis had shown me an ability to land that left hand repeatedly on Walsh, who couldn't make, at least not in this fight, the defensive adjustment needed to block the shot. Let me also say, too, that in thinking about this fight, I thought Walsh would circle Gervonta Davis. You're fighting a guy who has very heavy hands, right? He's a knockout puncher. That's how he got the title. That's how he beat Pedraza. You know he has prodigious power, right? You knew that. In the pre-fight video, I said he might be one of the hardest punchers in boxing. I just need more information. Well, let's just say Walsh, while he's not throwing a lot of punches in the first 2 rounds, right, he's also not using a lot of lateral movement. He's not forcing Davis to come find him. He's too close to the pocket, right? So, Davis, very impressive performance. Before we crown him, let's find out a little bit more about him. I'd like to see him on his back foot a little bit more. I thought there was a moment in the Pedraza fight where he wins the title where his back is up against the ropes and he didn't know what to do. Right? Knockouts cause amnesia. He won that fight. I'm not saying he didn't. He won that fight by stoppage. I'm not saying he didn't. But let's just say the little I've seen of him on his back foot, right, leaves some questions for me to answer. Right? I need to see more of his fights. But I don't question his power. I don't question his patience, especially not after this fight. I don't question his mental toughness, right? This is a guy in his early 20s. He's the youngest American champion in boxing today, right? And he just fought Liam Walsh in front of an excellent crowd that's yelling Walshy during the fight, right? This is a Liam Walsh crowd. And, of course, he's doing it after failing to make weight twice. And still, there was no panic in him, right? You didn't get the feeling Davis was in a rush. You didn't get the feeling Davis felt, I have to end this early or I'm going to be in trouble. No, he's the patient one setting up shots. I even like the shots he threw that got blocked, right? I'm guessing had this fight continued and had Walsh made the adjustment to block Davis's left to the side of his head, I'm guessing we would have then seen that springing right hand that Davis actually tries during the fight, but has it blocked, right? So Davis is methodical. He's making adjustments. He's patient. He's a very heavy puncher. He's mentally tough. He's not intimidated, right? I thought Walsh, by contrast, looked nervous, so nervous, he wasn't making defensive adjustments, and he wasn't fully aware of how to deal with Davis's power, right? You don't have to be close enough to the guy where the guy can hit you with these wide right hands to the side of your head, right? I didn't quite get Walsh's strategy. Let's say this too. I thought Pedraza fought the wrong fight against Davis. I think in a rematch, Pedraza would have a chance at winning. Well, I feel Walsh fought the wrong fight against Davis. Sooner or later, I'm going to have to recognize that if everyone's fighting the wrong fight against Davis, maybe Davis is fighting the right fight. And figuring out ways to lure these guys into mistakes. Because this is the second Davis fight in a row I've seen where an opponent who I thought was more fluid and mobile, curiously, is hanging around the pocket where Davis is able to, and Davis is episodic. He has the kind of quickness where he can go from 0 to 60 in a hurry. It's not that he's throwing a lot of combinations, right? That's another difference between him and Mike Tyson. Tyson would open up and throw combinations. Davis is more surgical. It's not like he's throwing combinations, right? This is actually a guy who waits for spots and then can go from 0 to 60, jump in and throw a hard left to the side of your head, right? Let me also say too, it's interesting. In an earlier video, I talked about how Errol Spence likes to go left, right, left, right. Here, you're going to notice when Davis gets the angle and starts to hit Liam Walsh in the side of the head with left hands, and he's a southpaw, it's his dominant hand, you're going to notice that that's the punch he focuses on, right? Davis has very good balance. He's not a mid-range hooker. This is a patient assassin, right? I was wrong on this fight. The hedge held, but I know no one's going to remember that, right? No one's going to remember that. I did expect Liam Walsh to win this fight. Simply put, he got blown out. I thought the stoppage was appropriate. I know Walsh is upset. I thought the stoppage was appropriate. Walsh gets to live for another day. When I see a guy with punching power like this against an opponent who's not making defensive adjustments, an opponent who gets hit with another left hand after the referee allows the fight to continue after the first knockdown, well, then I have no objection to the stoppage. I thought the ref did a good job, and I'm aware that this ref has a bit of a controversial history. I support the ref on this one. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Let me also say too, I understand that Floyd Mayweather said that Gervonta Davis, who is an offensive juggernaut, has some Pernell Whitaker in him, right? What I want the boxing OGs to do is to go back and look at films of Pernell Whitaker. I personally feel we're taking all-time greats, right? Mike Tyson, Pernell Whitaker, and we're throwing them in too many conversations and describing promising young fighters. Gervonta Davis is very promising, right? Very promising. I didn't see Pernell Whitaker level defense in this match. I don't think Walsh pushed the issue offensively enough to allow us to see Pernell Whitaker level defense in this match, right? Jury's still out on Davis. Excellent performance. Excellent performance. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.